Hey guys, welcome back to Wellness Climb. I just want to meet with you today and do kind of a non-traditional video. There's been stuff that's been on my mind and I thought it would be a great idea to video about it and do a little bit of a training because it's definitely what I need. I was listening to a podcast this morning and a lady in the wellness field was saying when she does her trainings, it's usually stuff that she's feeling in her heart and her life. So if she's struggling with it, probably her followers are as well, and that's probably the case here, or at least I hope. I hope I'm not alone in it. So what I wanted to talk to you guys today is about filling your bucket. You've probably heard that before, but the story behind it is basically we're walking around with like this figurative bucket above our heads, and every time positive things happen or people compliment us, there's good things going on in our lives, we serve others, we get these drops in our bucket. But when we're arguing or fighting or negative or others are criticizing us, we get drops taken out of our bucket. So as time goes on, if we have more drops taken out of our bucket, then we are just more depleted. And then we are not as resilient to handle the things that are in our life if there's negative things going on or stressful times. And the same the other direction. If we feel like we are getting a lot of those drops in our bucket in a good way, positive interactions, compliments, serving, different things like that, then we will feel rejuvenated and replenished and better able to deal with the things that are before us. So that's just kind of a little background information about that. So I was thinking a lot about that as here's my vulnerable part. These last like 2 or 3 weeks, I've really struggled and I've really been in this funk and have had a hard time getting out of that negative space, which we all do. But I've been trying to do those self-care things and sometimes they just feel so hard and then like they're not effective. And that's been the case with me. So as I was thinking about this bucket, I'm like, I thought that I was replenishing it enough, but maybe I wasn't. And then I realized like my self-care that I thought I was doing was not always self-care. In a lot of ways, I realized it was kind of abusive, self-abuse. So things like overeating, overspending, less sleeping, any of those things that sometimes we do when we're trying to cope, when we're stressed or depressed. Like what's the first thing some of your friends do? They want to take you out to eat, like overeat, or they want to get you chocolate, which is so fabulous sometimes, but really, is it going to make you feel better? Or you're going to go get a bunch of greasy food, or you're going to like get out that big carton of ice cream. A lot of those things, like you want to go shop and spend money. That's retail therapy. All these things that are not going to fill your bucket. So how are you going to feel the next day or the next week? Is it rejuvenating? Often it's not, and I found that is true with myself. So I wrote a little bit of a list, things that I like to do that maybe you would like to do as well. And in the comments below after this video, go ahead and leave some of your suggestions on what you do to fill your bucket and improve your self-care. So for me, maybe it's like a cheap spa. I'm not one to spend much money, but maybe it's just like a foot massage or something like that. Another one, a big one, is talking to a friend, but it has to be a safe friend. Somebody that's not going to fuel the fire if I'm frustrated, somebody that's going to listen and not talk about themselves all the time, somebody that's not going to gossip, just will give you real good quality advice if you need it. So pick one that is a good one to have. And then working out, obviously, those always are great ideas for releasing those endorphins and getting those things that you need to really improve your feelings of happiness in a natural way. Another one is listen to positive, upbeat music. There's a lot of like man-hater music or like aggressive music that might make you feel better temporarily, but ultimately is not going to keep you in that good frame of mind. Another one is a big one for me is go outside. Your body is just like pleading for that vitamin D sometimes. And we don't even realize how little we've gone outside. I know I've heard it in a podcast, another one, a lady that tries to go outside for 30 minutes every day, especially with her kids, and what an improvement that makes on their mood. And I know that's true for me too. especially if you involve movement with it or involve your family. That's something that we need to be doing. That fresh air, that sunshine is so important to fill our buckets. Serving, often the last thing I think about, but it's what's going to help. It always helps me. Helping others that are maybe a little more down or have struggles, suddenly you start to forget about your own problems. I love to go in the hot tub. That's an easy way to kind of rejuvenate a little bit. It's not harmful, usually. And then hobbies, like I picked up archery, and when I'm really stressed out, I will sometimes go do that. Or I really want to get into martial arts, so I'm sure a lot of you have different hobbies that are beneficial. The last one that I almost always do is I journal. Sometimes I feel like that's the only safe place to really get into the nitty gritty and express myself without it maybe harming others if I'm like angry and frustrated. And that's okay to express in certain atmospheres, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it helps me just sift through my feelings first before I vocalize them. All of these things, they can go to a negative place still. You have to check your mental and emotional health as you're doing them and see where you're at. Where is your frame of mind as you're doing them? If you are in this healthy place, you'll feel it, and you can tell if it's putting drops into your bucket or if it's not. So I just encourage you to do that self-check. When you're feeling down, you're depressed, we all have those days. It is natural. Don't beat yourself up, but just try to fill yourself in a good way. And then remember to ask yourself, will this hurt me or fill me? Is this short-term satisfaction that I'll regret later? Or is it a positive coping technique? And another way that I like to visualize it, this is kind of a funny way to put it, but I think about this bucket over my head as little sun drops I'm putting into it. So little bits of light that we need in our lives. So if you don't have that light going in, it's just going to be dark pretty soon. So put in those little sun drops as much as you can if you're feeling low, and hopefully this will help you feel a little more replenished and resilient when times get a little tough. Thanks for listening today. I hope it helped you as much as it helps me. It's always good to kind of remember those things and take a little mental self-check to see how I'm doing. Have a great day. Thanks.